Hi, I'm Kathy Muehlhauser with the Huron Historical Society and the Huron Public Library. Today is April 10th, 2009, and I'm interviewing Al Sunder for the Huron Oral History Project. Hi, Al. You are a lifelong resident of Huron. Were you originally from Huron?
Yes, I was born and raised here.
And your parents, too?
My parents were born and raised in Lorain, Ohio. And they came in the early 30s. So my father started the coal yard in 33 and then married my mother and brought her here in 34.
And where was your mom from?
She was from Lorain also. Both my grandparents are from Poland. And four of them came to Lorain. And my parents got together in Lorain and eventually came to Huron.
And why did your dad come to Huron?
My grandfather had a coal yard in Lorain back in the 20s, and he wanted my dad to stay with him and run the coal yard, but my dad took off on his own and started his own yard here in Huron in 33.
And did that connect with the docks at all, or why did he develop a coal yard?
Residential. Back in the 30s, before your time and mine, everyone used coal for heat. And there was no gas furnaces, and they supplied the local residents with coal.
Where'd the coal come from then?
West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Kentucky. Coal fields, soft coal, hard coal.
And did your dad deliver the coal then?
Yes, yes. He had a couple of guys working for him, but he and the other two fellows would deliver coal, 1 ton at a time, 2 tons maybe in some occasions. It's shovel, it's all physical. It's shovel it on, shovel it off into the coal bins of the homes, and that's how we...
Were the coal bins usually in the basement, or were they...
Yes, or out in the backyard in the shed. If the families had no basement, they'd have a shed outside or a coal pile out back where they brought the coal in from outside into the house.
And then your dad also had a building on Main Street?
After the coal business kind of faded away in the early 50s, after the war, gas came into being and people started using gas furnaces, so consequently the coal business went to pot, and he purchased a bar on Main Street in Huron, biggest building in Huron, 3-story building, and he had a bar for 20 years.
What was the name of the bar?
Sender's Tavern.
And do you have any memories of the
yes.
bar? Did you have to work at the bar?
I did a lot of work there as a kid. I didn't get a free pass. He put me to work. I'd fill the coolers, and later on I bartended for him for a couple of years. It was fun.
Do you have any stories you'd like to share with us about them?
It was a lot of local people. It was strictly a local bar. You got to know everybody that come in, what they were going to say after they had 1 drink and after they had 3 drinks. It was interesting. It was quite a liberal education.
Was it mostly men that came in, or women?
Men and
too?
women, mostly men, working class men. Yeah.
Were they off the boats, or?
Yes, during the summertime, they had a lot of boat trade. There were steamships in here all the time, of course, of coal and ore ships, and they had their own bars to go to. There were about 5 or 6 bars in Huron, and some went to this one, some went to this one, and they all had their own, call them their ships, but the guys who patronized just certain bars. But my dad had a lot of business with boats.
How long did he have his bar then? Why did he shut it down?
Urban Renewal in '67 put the end to that, and then he bought a place in Sandusky, the Echo Tavern, right on Columbus Avenue and Water Street, and he had that for quite a few years.
So did he own that building then, and the Urban Renewal
Yes.
people bought it out?
Yes.
Was he for Urban Renewal?
I don't think he really cared. He had a good business, and he was getting up in years, and he just wanted to get out of it, I guess. I don't know if he voted for it or against it, or really what his feelings were, but I think he didn't care which way it went.
And then after you bartended, what did you end up doing then?
I went to school for 2 years, went to Ohio State for 2 years. Then I came back and went to work in sales. I was a salesman. I started with Continental Coffee, and I worked there for about 25 years.
Did you work from home then, or did you
Yes,
have a
I did.
territory?
Yes,
So
I had a van. I delivered to restaurants. I called on local restaurants in a 5-county area, and that was my job for many years.
So why did you stay in Huron?
I liked Huron. Huron was a nice town. Actually, when urban renewal came along, it took the heart out of Huron. Downtown, as I knew it, it was a quaint little place. Like Milan and Berlin Heights are nice little towns. And when they tore Huron down, it really, I think it took the heart out of a lot of people, the locals. It seemed to be no rhyme or reason. At the time, they said that they would rebuild it from federal funds, I believe. But the price of money went so high, the interest was like 19%, and nobody could afford to go back into business. So it kind of fell by the wayside. That's what you have now. There's no downtown.
So what about school? Where did you go to school?
Well, I went to kindergarten about 30 feet from here. The little library sat right on this area, and it had 4 grades upstairs, first, second, third, and fourth, and then the basement was a kindergarten. Well, I started kindergarten here, and I don't even remember the high school, which sat just 50 yards away from me here. I don't remember that building, but they were building the new building on Ohio Street at the time, and I went from the kindergarten, and I started first grade in the new school on Ohio Street in 42 or 3, something like that, and went through the whole 12 grades over there.
So you didn't go to the new high school then?
No. The new one I think was built in about 59, 58. I graduated in 54 from the school.
So do you have any memories of school that you would like to
Yeah.
share
Well,
with us?
all good. Yes, a good school. It was small, of course. I think our graduating class was about 45 or 48 kids. So there probably weren't 300 kids in a whole high school. So it was good memories, all good memories.
Did many of the kids stay here, or did a lot of them move out of there?
I think the majority left. There wasn't a whole lot here. Of course, the grain mill and the docks were the big industries here. And Sandusky had the big plants, New Departure and General Motors. But I think the majority of the kids left. Seems that way anyway. They're not here.
Do you have reunions
Yes, we do.
frequently?
I'm well over my 50th, and we still get together. We did every 5 years for 50 years, and then we had our 55th, and I guess we're coming up with our 60th soon. So,
Do a lot of the kids come back, or
maybe 20, which is almost half.
do you stay in contact with anybody? Or?
A good friend of mine down in Florida, I do, but other than that, no. Still a few of us left in Huron, 3 or 4 maybe in Huron that I graduated with.
So, what do you think the future will bring to Huron?
That's I couldn't tell you. I don't like what I see. I don't think there's the mill over there depresses me. I don't think there's much they can do with that mill. I think it'd be too costly to try to renovate that thing, and that's going to be an eyesore eventually. I don't know what to say about the town. I don't know. So
you don't think they'll be able to develop it like they want to?
I don't. No, I don't. It's prohibitive. It's too costly. There's too big an operation. I think they'd be better off giving it to somebody and let them do it. Give it away, because it would cost the people of Huron too much money to try to do something with that.
And what do you like best about Huron?
It's quaintness. It's lost a lot of its nostalgia, of course, with the urban renewal. But it's a small town. It's a good town to grow up in. A lot of memories, but it was a nice town.
Can you tell us a little bit about your family?
I have 3 daughters. 2 of them live in town. One is in Cleveland. They're all educated. A nurse, a teacher, and the oldest girl, Lori, is in healthcare. She's she does rehab work. Tough job, working with indigents and alcoholics and this type of thing. And Jody's a nurse. She's the second oldest. She works for Fisher Titus in Norwalk. And Allison is in the process of getting her certificate in education. She let it lapse. Now she wants to get her teaching certificate back again. She's the youngest.
And they live in Huron?
Yes. Yes, Jody and Allison. And Lori lives in Cleveland.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share with us? Any
I
memories?
don't know what you want. I don't know what I
Like
remember at times growing up in Huron. I remember how good a time we had. We played baseball in the morning and at the high school, and at noon we'd go to the beach and swim all day. And that was the way we spent our day as kids.
What beach did you go to?
The local beach down at the end of Ohio Street.
Oh, at the park?
At the park, And went out to the pier and swam off the pier and swam across the river and back a time or two, and that was just our. And in the wintertime, we skated in the first cove all the time. Every day we'd get on there with our skates and break a twig off a tree, and that was our hockey club, and we'd play hockey all day.
And what were some of your jobs when you were growing up?
In high school, I worked for a local electrician, Digger Odell. He was the one and only electrician in town, and I worked for him. And I wired a lot of homes in Huron when I was in high school. And after that, testing my memory now, I worked for the Power Construction Company in Lorain, Ohio. I worked there for 4 years. And my father, I worked for him for 2 years bartending. And then after the Power Construction Company, I went to work with Continental Coffee in about early 60s sometime.
Where did you grow up? Where was your house?
I was born on Main Street, right about where the front of the city building is, around about the 431 or something like that on Main Street. And I lived there for 5 or 6 years. Then we moved to Oklahoma on Wilbur Avenue. And then in 44, 45, we moved to Main Street, right next to the funeral home. The house is gone now. We lived there for, until I got out of school.
So what was it like living on Main Street?
Well, it was nice. Every day I'd go down to Escher's at night at 7 o'clock at night when televisions first came out, and 6 or 8 guys would sit in Escher's store on boxes all over the place and watching the TV about this big and watch wrestling until 11 o'clock at night. That was my deadline, and I'd run home in 2 minutes and I'd make my 11 o'clock deadline. It was interesting. It was nice, and spent a lot of time downtown as kids.
Did you take the interurban?
No, that was before my time.
Was that before? Okay.
I remember it, but about that, my memories about that are very vague. I remember it had a bridge. It had tracks across the bridge, the old bridge. I remember that. I remember the urban station down on Main and where the donut shop is now. And Thomas's Market was right there. There was an interurban railroad station right there. And that's about all I remember about that.
Okay. Thank you.
Quite welcome. I hope I helped.